Hey, big guy.
Inflation is so bad that the rock has turned into the pebble. Okay, got it. The rock has showed up looking very, very thin for a recent movie premiere, The Rock, the Pebble. Okay. The Rock's obviously famous for his physique, for being a big, strong dude, but he is no longer as big as he once was. He's lost a lot of weight. Does The Rock look like a tortoise that won the Euro Millions? I don't even understand that reference. You can see here that he's definitely slimmed down. Dave Bautista, the same thing. Bautista, of course, went horrifically woke and humiliatingly woke. The Rock, as we've said, just simply trying to walk the middle ground here. What happened to The Rock? Everybody's asking. What happened?
When Hollywood's biggest action star shows up looking like he's been through a paper shredder, you have to ask yourself one question. What's the real story they're not telling us? Because what happened to Dwayne Johnson at the Venice Film Festival wasn't just a physical transformation. It was a calculated move that reveals everything wrong with how we worship celebrity bodies and the dangerous lengths stars will go to reinvent themselves. The man who built his entire brand on being an unstoppable force of nature just showed up looking like he'd been deflated. And while everyone's buying the official story about method acting and role preparation, there are some uncomfortable questions that need answers. Questions about timing, about health, about the price of staying relevant in an industry that chews up and spits out even its biggest stars. Picture this. You're expecting to see The Rock, 280 pounds of pure muscle, the guy who makes other action heroes look like accountants. Instead, you get someone who looks like The Rock's younger, significantly smaller brother. The transformation was so dramatic that fans literally didn't recognize him. Social media exploded with concern, confusion, and conspiracy theories faster than you could say people's elbow. This wasn't a gradual change that people gradually noticed over months. This was a reveal, a calculated debut of a completely different physical presence that had clearly been months in the making. The timing? Perfectly orchestrated for maximum impact at one of the world's most prestigious film festivals. But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't just about a movie role. This was about sending a message. The images spread like wildfire because they challenged everything we thought we knew about one of the most physically imposing figures in entertainment. Suddenly, the man who seemed immune to aging, who defied every expectation about what a 53-year-old body could look like, appeared vulnerable, human. And that vulnerability was exactly what made it so shocking. According to the narrative we're being fed, this dramatic transformation is all about Johnson's dedication to portraying MMA fighter Mark Kerr in The Smashing Machine. They want us to believe that a man who's built his entire career on being larger than life suddenly decided that authenticity required him to sacrifice the very thing that made him famous, his incredible physique. But let's think about this logically. The Rock has played countless roles without dramatically altering his body. He was still jacked in Jungle Cruise, still massive in the Fast and Furious films, still imposing in everything he's done. Why now? Why this role? What makes Mark Kerr's story so special that it required Johnson to essentially deconstruct his entire physical identity? The official explanation focuses on his commitment to the craft, his desire to disappear into the character. But experienced actors know that physical transformation, while impressive, doesn't automatically equal better performance. In fact, some of the greatest actors in history have never dramatically altered their appearance for roles. So why was this transformation really necessary? And why are we supposed to applaud an approach that clearly took a toll on his health? here's where the story gets murky. Johnson has admitted to struggling with significant gut health issues since late 2023, problems that apparently confounded doctors for months. These gut health issues supposedly contributed to his decision to lean down, to become healthier. But let's examine this claim with the skepticism it deserves. For years, Johnson has promoted his massive cheat meals, his legendary appetite, his ability to consume thousands of calories while maintaining his physique. His entire brand was built on excess, excessive workouts, excessive eating, excessive size. Now we're supposed to believe that this lifestyle suddenly started causing digestive problems that required a complete overhaul? The timing is suspicious. These health issues emerge just as he's preparing for a role that requires a leaner physique. It's almost too convenient, isn't it? It allows him to frame a dramatic physical change as a health necessity rather than a career calculation. But what if the health problems were actually caused by the methods he used to achieve this transformation rather than the reason for it? Within hours of Johnson's Venice appearance, social media was buzzing with Ozempic speculation. And honestly, can you blame them for asking? The weight loss drug has become Hollywood's worst-kept secret, with celebrities dropping weight at rates that defy traditional diet and exercise explanations. Johnson was quick to deny any use of weight loss medications, pointing to his gut health issues and role preparation as the real reasons. But his defensiveness raises more questions than it answers. Why address the speculation so quickly and so emphatically if there wasn't some truth to the concerns? And why has this particular transformation generated more Ozempic speculation than any of his previous physical changes? The reality is that we're living in an era where the line between natural transformation and pharmaceutical assistance has become completely blurred. Celebrities have access to treatments, procedures, and medications that aren't available to regular people. Yet they continue to sell us narratives about hard work and dedication while potentially using shortcuts that most of us can't even access. What Johnson's transformation really exposes is the impossible standards that Hollywood places on its stars, particularly as they age. At 53, Johnson was facing a choice between continuing being typecast as the big, muscular action hero or reinvent himself for more serious, dramatic roles. The problem is that Hollywood rarely allows actors to make this transition without proving their commitment through physical sacrifice. Look at the pattern. Christian Bale destroys his body repeatedly for roles. Matthew McConaughey nearly starved himself for Dallas Buyers Club. Joaquin Phoenix lost dangerous amounts of weight for Joker. We've normalized the idea that serious acting requires serious physical suffering. But what message does this send? That your art isn't valuable unless you're willing to damage your health for it? Johnson's transformation fits perfectly into this toxic pattern. To be taken seriously as a dramatic actor, he had to prove that he was willing to sacrifice the very thing that made him famous. The muscle, the size, the physical presence, all of it had to go to prove his artistic credibility. But at what cost? Let's be brutally honest about what's really happening here. Johnson is 53 years old in an industry that's obsessed with youth. His action hero days are numbered, whether he admits it or not. The smart move, the business move, is to pivot to dramatic roles while he still has the cultural capital to make that transition work. The weight loss sends a signal to directors, producers, and audiences that he's serious about being seen as more than just a muscle-bound action star. It's a calculated risk that could either revitalize his career or completely undermine the brand he spent decades building. But here's what bothers me. The way this calculation is being sold to us as artistic integrity. We're supposed to believe that this is purely about craft, about becoming a better actor, about serving the story, when in reality, it's probably more about market positioning and career longevity. There's nothing wrong with making smart business decisions, but let's call it what it is. The most disturbing aspect of this entire situation is what it reveals about the pressure facing even the most successful stars in Hollywood. Johnson didn't just randomly decide to lose 60 pounds. He didn't wake up one morning and think, you know what, I should look completely different. This transformation was driven by external pressures, industry expectations, audience demands, the relentless pursuit of relevance in a youth-obsessed culture. The gut health issues, the role preparation, the artistic integrity, these might all be true, but they're also convenient explanations that mask the deeper reality. Johnson felt pressure to change, to prove himself, to sacrifice his health and his established identity for the chance to be taken seriously in a different way. And we're celebrating this sacrifice instead of questioning why it was necessary in the first place. The real story isn't about Johnson's dedication or his health journey. It's about an industry that demands constant reinvention, even from its biggest stars. It's about a culture that equates physical transformation with artistic growth. And it's about the dangerous precedent being set when we applaud celebrities for potentially damaging their health in the name of their craft. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Johnson's transformation might have been necessary for his career, but probably wasn't necessary for his health or his happiness. The man was already successful, already beloved, already financially secure. This change was about something entirely different, about proving that he could evolve, that he wasn't just a one-trick pony, that he deserved to be taken seriously as more than just a muscle bone. But the cost of that proof might be higher than any of us realize. Because when you've built your entire identity around being physically imposing, when your brand is literally based on being The Rock, what happens to your sense of self when you voluntarily chip away at that foundation? What happens when the thing that made you famous becomes the thing you have to sacrifice to stay relevant? The transformation raises questions that go far beyond Hollywood. Questions about identity, about the price of reinvention, about whether we've created a culture where even the most successful people feel pressured to constantly change themselves to meet impossible standards. Johnson's dramatic weight loss isn't just a personal health journey or a professional commitment. It's a mirror reflecting everything that's wrong with how we think about success, aging, and authenticity in the modern world. And maybe that's the most shocking truth of all, that even The Rock, the guy who seemed unbreakable, unstoppable, immune to the pressures that crush other stars, wasn't strong enough to resist the demand to become someone else entirely.